Son, while you were off in the desert testing cars, a lot happened. A lot happened in Singapore. Some of it on track. Lando got the elbows out, finally. I don't know what Lewis had out, but he was all over the track. McLaren wrapped it up early this year. Not like last year. There was an actual fight. That's 2 in a row. But soon after came all the drama. We had Charles. Is he going to stay with Ferrari, the favorite son? I don't know. Rumors of Christian Horner's return. He's like Palpatine, that dude. You know, even when he's not on screen, his presence is felt. Are you ready to go, son?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, an American take on Formula One. It's soon after the Singapore Grand Prix, race 18, a fine race, made even better by all the storylines that emerged soon after. We had a strong drive from George Russell. He took the win. Man is still without a contract. Not sure what that's about. Bigger story, though. No one can now deny. You have been talking about this, Patrick, for a year now, that the papaya rules the McLaren had were stupid and were designed to favor Lando. All right, son, we know the results of the Singapore Grand Prix. Why don't you give me your thoughts and your top 5?
Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting race. Singapore is consistently one of the most challenging drives for these teams, for the drivers. And I think a lot of them did quite well and others suffered a lot. And maybe not just because of the heat. But yeah, I mean, that first few turns, Lando and Oscar, not entirely sure what that whole deal was about. I think typically most people would look at that and say, okay, that's more of a first lap racing incident. It's good racing. You're trying to squeeze into these tight spaces and okay, you bump each other, whatever. But when McLaren is so consistently saying, hey, yeah, you can totally race each other, but you are not allowed to touch each other. Then Lando goes and crashes into his teammate to get by him. You go, well, maybe your rules aren't really your rules.
Right.
Maybe you're just saying those things. So I thought it was kind of fun to hear Oscar moaning about that because it's kind of the first time we've really seen that from him. Be like, this kind of bullshit. You're kind of fucking me over here. And so it was nice to hear somebody say it because it hasn't been said before. And I don't know why, since it's been so obvious, but.
Yeah, you've been talking about these papaya rules should not even exist. It's like, look, we don't want this internal team battle to just get out of control. I mean, the last really good one we had was Lewis and Rosberg, and that got heated. McLaren is so far ahead of everyone this year. A Lando-Oscar battle isn't going to cost them the Constructors' Championship. But it's just, we want to work well together. But as you said, it's like, look, we want these guys out there racing. We don't want these two drivers in the best car just coming in 1-2 every race. We want to see some action. Plus, as you've mentioned, it was always obvious to everyone. The primary beneficiary of these rules was Lando. And it was always obvious to everyone that Zach Brown and the McLaren team, for the most part, want Lando to win it. They believe he's their boy. He's earned it. He's put in the time, even though Oscar's ahead in points. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird situation because I think, from a team perspective, yeah, you have it wrapped up. It's not a big deal in the Constructors' Championship. And it hasn't been all season. I mean, at no point did it look like anybody else was going to win that title. But as far as the Drivers' Championship, like, there are other drivers within touching distance, which you don't want. And I think if McLaren just went, here, we are going to make driver A, the guy. And then, you just work together to make sure he gets those wins or gets as far up the order as possible. But currently, they're sitting here just kind of dicking each other over every once in a while. And now Max enters the picture. It's like, well, that's kind of stupid. It's kind of dumb from a team perspective, for starters. And then, I don't know, it just seems weird. Their whole set of rules, but not really rules to allow them to fight, but they aren't really supposed to fight. And it seems like one driver is going too far and the other is backing off a little bit. It's confusing. It's a dumb system. They shouldn't have them. And it might end up ruining their shot at a driver's championship once again.
Yeah, I think they're so far ahead that I don't think it will, but it's possible. George had a great race, I thought. Alonso had a great race. Give me your top 5 for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go with George, top of the pile this weekend. He was just better in pretty much every facet. I think he qualified really well. Obviously, the Mercedes looked quite good. And then, just sort of skipped away from Max at the start of the race. Didn't really ever look back. Had a good pit stops. Everything worked out for him. And he just didn't look in trouble at any point in time. And I think that is the mark of a successful weekend. So good from him. It puts Mercedes back up ahead of Ferrari in the constructor standings. So yeah, pretty impressive from him. And I'll go, with the guy that got P2, Max. Just another incredible weekend. Seemingly no reason for it. It's just all down to Max. His teammates still can't figure it out. He fends off Lando for like 50 some laps. I mean, what more is there to say about this guy? It's every weekend. I don't get it. I don't know if anybody gets it. But, maybe he didn't get the win that he wanted, but he still outscored both of the McLaren drivers. So, he creeps forward.
Yep.
He might just run out of time in the season, but he's catching them. And that is something that should not be possible.
Yeah, by my calculation, so we have 6 races, 3 sprints remaining. The most you can get from a race, they no longer have the fastest lap. That's a point. You get 25. You get, 8 for the sprint. So 25 times 6 is 150. 3 sprints times 8, that's 24. That's 174 points. So Max can do it, but he's going to need a DNF or 2. He's going to need McLaren to sort of not really implode, but just fade. And I'm not so sure in that car. And with Lando and Oscar driving, that's possible. I agree though. If the season is longer as we predicted in the past, I think Max could do this. I just think, as you said, he's running out of time.
Yeah, we'll see. If McLaren wants to keep those papaya rules going, then maybe in a couple weeks when they go to Austin, they'll get tangled up and Max gains a boatload of points on him.
That would. It's definitely possible. 6 races, 6 race weekends left. Max can try to maximize that, but yeah, it should not be. When you look at the points McLaren has, this should not be, and how many points Red Bull has. But yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, another strong weekend from him. Then I guess we'll go to another champion, Fernando Alonso. You mentioned him. He had just a crazy time for most of the race, but he just seemed like he was one of the few guys on track that could get past people, and he just raced hard. He raced well. The dude just seems like through sheer force of will does good. Pretty much every race.
It's funny because it's clear that the gods have it out for him. I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but I believe he's pretty much out-qualified Stroll every single weekend. And I think, though, it took until this race before he had more points than Stroll. So, I'm just like, man, that's got to sting. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's tough. Really, he should be up there in the top 10, I think. But for the most part, I think that Aston really struggled early on in the season. And Alonso had a few issues early on in the season, and that really set him back. But thinking towards the end of the season, he's going to be up there, maybe only behind Albon or something like that, inside that top 10. But yeah, I mean, he's always fun to watch. He passed everybody that he could. And then on like the last couple of laps, Hamilton's brakes just totally failed. And so he was running around on the track, and Alonso made up like 45 seconds or something on him.
Yeah.
It was just crazy to get that P7. So, I mean, yeah, dude is still killing it. Better than almost any other driver on the grid. Still.
Yeah.
But let's see. Then I'll go to a rookie in Kimi Antonelli. I think he seems like maybe starting to find his form. I feel like every time I think that, the next race he just shits the bed. But we'll see how it goes. I thought he had a good weekend, was fending off both the Ferraris for quite some time. I thought he had a nice race. He looked like he felt more comfortable this weekend in that Mercedes, and was the best of the rookie bunch. So just a good overall performance from him. And then this one was a toss-up for me, but I decided to go with another rookie in Ollie Behrman. In that Haas, that Haas has kind of struggled to get up into the points consistently this season, but he qualified well, went all the way to Q3, had a nice race, just kind of meandering there, holding up the pack for some time, just sort of kept going, ended up in P9, and pretty sure that he was the last car to cross the line on the lead lap. So I thought that was impressive from him. I guess honorable mention to Carlos Sainz, because I thought he got disqualified from qualifying basically because of a rear wing infringement or some such thing like that. And he made up quite a few positions, got himself all the way up into the points. But, I thought overall on the weekend, Behrman was slightly ahead. So
yeah. And Behrman, bit unheralded, rookie driver, young guy at Haas. And again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but ever since Hülkenberg finally got his podium, he's kind of been shit. And Behrman has really been carrying that team. So been good to see. So your top 5 for the Singapore Grand Prix: George Russell, Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, and then the rookies Kimi Antonelli and Oliver Behrman. Looking at the current standings, it's all McLaren. Oscar at 336, Lando 314. That's 22 points behind. Again, we have 6 races, 3 sprints. That's for 22 points. The more veteran Lando Norris absolutely can make that up. Will he? That's going to be the fun story. Then Max, essentially with nearly all of Red Bull's points, 273. He's now 63 points behind. And again, 6 race weekends. So 6 races, 6 times 25. That's 150. 3 sprints, 3 times 8, that's 24. It's going to be tough, but he can do it. Then we have George. George Russell's having a solid year. If you're not going to have a contract signed, that's when you want to have a good year. And he's been getting better. He's in 4th at 237, and then Charles Leclerc, distant 5th at 173, and Charles's teammate Lewis Hamilton, even further distant, 125. So next year, assuming George gets re-signed at Mercedes, you think he can compete for a championship?
Well, I think he's driving far more consistently than in previous seasons. And he's having good weekends, not just, Saturdays or whatever. So I think it's possible if Mercedes starts out, they've had really slow starts, I feel like, to the last several seasons, where they just were totally off the pace, but they kind of come back middle of the season. They continue to improve the car, improve the performance, and George seems to like the way it drives for him. So I think they should come out with the best car next season. I don't really see why they wouldn't. with all the new regulations, they have basically the most money and most stability in that team, aside from potentially McLaren. But I mean, Mercedes just should be better than McLaren, or at least comparable. And I think if they're sort of neck and neck, George definitely could, scoot in there for that decision. For all that said, if Red Bull can just put out something reasonable, I mean, it's hard to count out Max. Obviously, even after this season, he's still right there. So
this season, when we're seeing anybody get into that Red Bull and just have a terrible time, and Max still threatening to win the championship, yeah, I think it's sort of like, look, give him an average car and he's won it, which shouldn't be. But
I mean, yeah, I think if we're going like betting odds, Russell's probably in the top 4 conversation for, expectations to win the Drivers' Championship next year. So I see it as a possibility. I think he's looked much better this year than in previous years. And I almost think it's helped him having Lewis gone, because previously it was just like, oh, I just have to beat Lewis. I have to be better than him and blah, blah, blah. And I think now he's sort of focused on everybody else around him and not just the battle with Lewis. So,
yeah. What about, not in your top 5 this week, Oscar Piastri? I mean, he's currently leading. I think we all know, he knows these papaya rules, they're not there for him. They don't serve him. And if you're going to be an F1 driver, you got to make it where, look, everything has to serve me. He knows those rules don't serve him. I mean, are you expecting any little tussles? Him and Lando getting into it, either on track or not? Or, I mean, 6 races left. It's coming down to the wire.
Yeah. I mean, I think there ought to be. I still don't really understand him so much, because while he does seem to be frustrated by the papaya rules and clearly are not necessarily working in his favor, at least not consistently, like they are for Lando, he seems sort of complacent in that. And he just sort of allows it to happen. And I think he needs to fight back a little bit. Like, oh, Lando's going to drive into you? Yeah, fucking cut him off. I don't know. Like, send him into a wall. You got to do something. You can't just go, oh, man, guys, he hit me. That's not fair. You shut the fuck up and do something about it then.
Right. Yeah, he knows the team isn't.
So, yeah, I don't know. He just seemed to whine and complain this week more than he's done previously, which I think shows that he is getting more frustrated about this. But it's not like he's really doing anything from his side, right? I don't know. I can't tell if he will do anything or not. I hope he does, I don't necessarily want them to crash out and crash into each other or whatever, but I want him to make it a little bit more difficult for Lando. Like, hey, you want to get around me? You got to go into that wall to get around me. You're not, I'm not just going to go, oh man, you bumped into me. That's rude.
I mean, look,
no.
Lewis and Alonso aren't going to win dick this year. Lewis having brake issues. He still was screwing over Alonso. These are blood feuds. This is what we want, Oscar, yeah, I'm with you. Like, what are you doing, Oscar? This is your mortal enemy. I mean, you're an F1 driver, right? Look, everybody wants to be that. And it's you, and you're going to let someone just come and take it from you. So I don't know. But yeah, you're right. He seems a bit complacent regarding all of this. Now, team standings. McLaren with their first back-to-back, I think, since before you were born. I think since 91. 650 points already. They've got this locked up. They got this locked up in Singapore. 6 races to go. Look, finally, the regulations. Last year, Ferrari fought them tooth and nail to the end. Red Bull was putting up a fight. Here, it's already over. All props to Zach Brown and the McLaren team, but that's an indictment of everyone else, I think. Number 2, Mercedes, half the points, 325. My goodness. You can see the first year maybe of new regulations and, something went wrong. We did something wrong. We didn't get it right. This, it's like, how was this even possible? I don't understand. So, Ferrari, 298. My goodness. Look, Red Bull, which is just basically Max, is 290. Ferrari could finish 4th in the constructors behind McLaren, Mercedes, and Max. Okay. Do you think this Ferrari implosion is going to impact Lewis's legacy? Look, it's Ferrari, and they backed up the Brinks truck and just showered the man with gold. Nonetheless, he still wants to win. And I don't know if he's ever going to get a podium again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on at Ferrari. That's a confusing situation. Ferrari typically is. But I mean, this is bad. They are P3, but barely. And yeah, no podiums for Lewis. I mean, I don't even know if it's really all that much on Lewis. Like, yeah, he's not consistently beating Leclerc, but I don't think he's so far off of his pace typically.
No. Especially, I mean, this has been Charles's team.
Yeah.
Lewis had become a new team, and he's within striking distance.
So I just think it has almost more to do with Ferrari being just garbage this year, basically everywhere. And, garbage by Ferrari standards, where they're consistently outside the top 5 pretty much. I mean, that is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it tarnishes Lewis's legacy because, at any point he can go, yeah, well, look at my 7 championships on the wall right there.
Right.
So, but it does put sort of a damper on what has been a pretty exceptional career and one that was just filled with winning constantly. And then he goes to Ferrari and it's like, yeah, you're going to be like P7 regularly.
Right.
He's like, well, why? Why would that happen? This is Ferrari.
And in the opposite, Max, this is an obviously garbage car, and he could win. As we've said, I think he'll run out of time. He could win. Just Max in a garbage car. I mean, yeah, he's already got 4 championships, but this is sort of like, hey, man, you can never question his commitment. I mean, shit, he's got a wife and baby at home, week break. I'm sure his wife Kelly was like, oh, good, spend some time with family. He's like, F that. He flies to Germany just to do some fun racing, little, GT3 action. I mean, the man, obviously, he won't, he's like, hey, I'm changing any diapers. I got a race in Germany to go to, but nonetheless, this is sort of the opposite. I mean, going to Ferrari is, other than big money, hasn't really done Lewis any favors, whereas sticking with Red Bull is really solidified just how good Max is.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Lewis, it's disappointing or difficult, but I think he had maybe not given up on Toto, but he just, I don't know, that whole situation was dragging on, and it was probably better for him to leave and financially more beneficial too. But yeah, the on-track performance has really suffered, and Max, dude's just a racer. And I mean, pretty much like prime of his career right now. With all that experience and just talent, he's capable of winning in pretty much anything. So, I don't know. If Red Bull had a dynasty like Mercedes did, maybe he could go for, 7. But we'll see.
But, related storyline, Lewis Hamilton jumps toward Ferrari. Carlos Sainz, we don't have any room for you. He's cast asunder. Winds up with Williams, having a difficult year. Seems like, though, he's found his form. And he gets on the podium before Lewis. He's doing well. He had a decent race in Singapore, like you said. And I just think Ferrari, they've made an enemy for life. And I love that. Like Carlos Sainz, like, oh, I'm going to screw over Ferrari any way I can.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should. He kind of got the short end of the stick for no real reason. He didn't do anything wrong, per se. And Williams has clearly had its ups and downs this season, but they have been very good in some weekends on certain tracks. And Sainz took advantage of that. And I think, he deserves to kind of shake his fist a little bit at Ferrari. And, maybe if James Voles can continue on the upward trend there at Williams, maybe they just start competing again at the top. And Sainz really gets his opportunity to
extract revenge.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, I think he's definitely doing better recently, he took a while to figure it out there. It seemed like Albon was just crushing him basically every weekend in qualifying and racing. So it's good to see Sainz back up there.
Switching to the soft compound, Christian Horner conspiracy theories. Now, all we hear about Christian Horner is people turning him down for a job. Oh, he wants to be team principal at Aston. No. He wants to be team principal at Cadillac. No. He wants to be team principal at Audi. Nope. Nonetheless, Christian Horner, I think, is one of the all-time great F1 dudes. The best team principal ever. And a lot of people did not like him, though. A lot of racing fans didn't like him. A lot of folks on the grid did not like him. Nonetheless, he's still there. He's still kicking about. He's still looking. Maybe he'll be an owner, part owner, which I predicted years ago. Maybe someone will hire him. We'll see. I just think, last year, I believe it was, he was investigated for inappropriate behavior. He was found by his company to be absolved of any wrongdoing. We don't know. Nonetheless, this year, they let him go, but with a nice $100 million paycheck. 100 people, they may not make $1 million in their lifetime, possibly. Dude walks, he gets $100 million. Thank you, money. Thank you. Here's the door. Here's a $100 million check. Was he set up, Patrick? Was this all a ruse? I don't think so, but was it a ruse? Did somebody set him? Because, look, nobody wants to talk about this, but apparently he was engaged in inappropriate texting with a woman who works. I don't know if she worked for Red Bull. I think so. She then got hired by another team. I like to think of conspiracy theories, so I think this is a good one. Was Horner set up? Zach Brown, Toto Wolff, these guys don't like him. You think so? You think maybe he was set up? I like conspiracy theories, Patrick.
So here's my conspiracy theory about how he was set up and why he was set up. Because, maybe he was set up. But I think he might have been set up by somebody who wanted to hire him. But they couldn't just, take him away from Red Bull. So they got him fired so that they could just hire him. Now he's out of a job. He's desperate to get back into F1. Oh, he's calling everybody. Nah, dude, we don't want you. And so now he makes one more call and they go, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll hire you. That sounds good.
That's like some Vulcan chess there, Patrick. Those are steps ahead in multiple dimensions.
I'm thinking Toto's just playing around. He actually wants Christian Horner. He likes him. So he's going to take a step back, maybe, of his responsibilities at Mercedes and bring in Horner.
Well, how about this? So on that, riffing on that, Patrick, so the conspiracy theory that Horner was set up, let's say, no, but what's the conspiracy theory that Horner sabotaged Red Bull? The owner died and there was some issues there and there was some bad blood. There was Helmut just always there, being a distraction, getting in the way. Look what happened. We expected Red Bull not to dominate the way they did in, say, 2023, but we thought they'd be competitive. They were not. They've been terrible all year. Horner's gone. Basically, in a fortnight, they suddenly, mysteriously, amazingly get that car to where, Max can win races. Did Horner sabotage Red Bull? I don't know.
Well, I imagine that they'd been working on those upgrades during the time that Horner was there. But, let's go with he sabotaged for the simple fact that, I don't know, he just didn't like anybody there. He wasn't getting the deal that he wanted or whatever it was.
Max's dad was threatening him, I don't know. There were some issues there.
Maybe. And so he just didn't like it. And so he stopped all work on anything that would have made a difference. But I don't know. He's not like a technical guy necessarily. So I how does he know exactly what's going to be better or worse? I don't know. What's to say?
Yeah. I don't think any of this is true. I like conspiracy theories. I don't think any of this is true. I do think it's all exactly as we assume it is. Inappropriate behavior, but he's a ranking dude, had some power, had some influence, had an awesome contract. I do think, however, that nobody wants to hire him. He's the best team principal on the planet, but F1, the more money it makes, the more corporate it gets. And Christian Horner is still old school F1. He's that guy. He's not this corporate F1. So I don't think anybody is going to hire him. So I don't think we're going to see him back next year. I do think, however, and we predicted this at least 2 years ago on the show, that he's going to be part owner. We predicted at least 2 years ago on the show there'd be a 12th team by 2030. So maybe it'll be a new team. Maybe he'll get a piece of, let's say, Renault, Alpine. Hard to say. That's where I think his future is. I mean, the reason we predicted this is because he's such a great team principal, but the one area he missed out on is, getting some of that ownership stake. I mean, you look at Total Wolff's salary, I don't know what he's making, more than most people on the planet, $10 million a year, let's say. I don't know. But just the increase in value of the Mercedes team just this year has gotten them tens of millions of dollars more. That's where Horner's missing out on. So I don't think anyone's going to hire him because F1's too corporate, but I do think he can be part owner.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've sort of expected that to happen, so I still see that as a real possibility. And, I think it would be interesting to see if anything comes of his desperate attempts to to get back into the sport as soon as possible. It seems like he wants to return next year, basically, but might have to wait a couple seasons.
Speaking of a 12th team, we predicted 11th team and people said absolutely not. We had predicted, more than 20 races, 24 races and more. We predicted by 2030 a 12th team. We now have American auto companies in F1, Ford and GM, Cadillac, to go along with all the European companies. We do not have an Asian company. Well, no, Honda's still in there. They look like they were going to leave, but then they stayed. So they'll be with Aston. But what about another one? Hyundai. I mean, Total Wolff just said, we need to eat South Korea. We need to have a race in South Korea. Those fans are, they love F1 and it's a growing market there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that would be fun. I think it'd be cool. Hyundai has a number of different sort of motorsport pedigrees, but have never competed in that sort of open wheel racing that F1 is. So it would be interesting to have them become a constructor or potentially just, a power unit supplier or something like that. But I think that's definitely a market where F1 is sort of lagging. Korea, China, that region, that's a massive, massive market that they really haven't tapped into yet. They've gone to Japan for a long time, have been, on and off in China racing there. But, other than that, they really haven't worked the market. And certainly not in the way that they have done over the last decade in North America, in the US specifically. So I think that's sort of the next venture. So that'll be good. It would be interesting to see that kind of market, get races, potentially get another constructor, that kind of thing.
What if, so we also predicted, at least a year ago, maybe earlier, Charles Leclerc would be the greatest F1 driver without any championships, not a constructor, not a driver. Ferrari's imploding. Charles is solid rumors that he's looking to get out. How awesome would it be if Christian Horner was team principal of Ferrari? I mean, imagine Lewis, Ferrari, Christian Horner. My goodness.
That would be wild. I mean, there's a bunch of rumors going around now that, Vasseur is out and Horner is in. So we'll see what happens, but I think, that's the current going favorite, I think, for Horner destinations is Ferrari. And it would be hilarious if he came in because, him and Lewis would clash immediately. So
what's shocking to me is this Ferrari, I don't want to say an implosion because it's not yet, but they have been just piss poor this year and don't seem like they're getting better. And we saw this with Renault, with Alpine. I mean, it's sort of like in F1, you keep getting better. Or if you kind of start falling off the cliff, I mean, that takes on life of its own. Suddenly, Alpine doesn't do shit. They're so bad that they're no longer going to be a constructor. They're looking at, selling the team. I mean, Ferrari, this could be, this could be a pivotal moment for our history.
It could be. I think Alpine's ownership was not very stable, and they caused a lot of friction between their, team principals, technical directors, that kind of thing, and just sort of were firing people willy-nilly and doing crazy stuff. And I think less of that is happening at Ferrari, but I mean, it's not going in the right direction. And I don't know how much of that is on Vasseur, team principal, or on kind of Ferrari ownership, but they need to right the ship quickly. Next season, they need to start and get off well because they got two quality drivers. They got, a rabid fan base and a lot of money. They need to do well. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they need to do to fix it, but I'm pretty sure that if they hire Christian Horner, he could take the reins and at least move them in the right direction. So.
Across the line, that is our segment where we predict the top 5 for the next race. The next race is in approximately 2 weeks in the United States of America, in Texas, at COTA. Last year, speaking of Charles Leclerc, it was Charles Leclerc and Sainz, and then Lando, and I think he had a penalty, so I think Max got it, but it was Charles, Carlos, Lando, 1, 2, 3. Now, in Across the Line, we try to predict the top 5 for the next race. If we get a driver in the top 5, we get a point. If we get them in the exact right spot, we get 3 points. Patrick, what are the current standings of Across the Line?
Current standings are still quite close. Coming into this, you were leading by just 3 points, 58-55. And then this weekend was, again, another close finish. So top 5 was Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Antonelli. Your top 5 was Verstappen, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Alonso. So you're very close to getting a whole ton of points, but you just got 2, Verstappen, Russell, not in the correct positions, but both in the top 5. And then I had Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Antonelli, Albon. So I got 3 points, 1 each for Norris, Piastri, and Antonelli, all in the top 5, but not in the correct positions. So that brings scores to 60 for you, 58 for me. So just 2 points with 6 weeks left. I mean,
wow,
it's close.
Wow, it's like a Lando Oscar battle we've got going. All right, who goes first?
I have first pick this race. So I'm going with the hot hand. I'm taking Max.
Nice. I'm going same as last year. Charles, who's got a lot to prove, and Carlos has a lot to prove. So that's a Ferrari Williams 1-2.
Will that be something? All right. Well, let's see. Then I guess I'll take a McLaren because it's hard to leave a McLaren off there. I'll take Lando. And then I think George is going to finish well and once again finish on the podium.
Nice. I'm going to take Lando's teammate Oscar and the Phoenix. You can't kill him. He just rises from the ashes. Fernando Alonso.
He will not stay down. Let's see. Who am I going to take? Kimi's racing well, but I don't know if he's going to have 2 top 5 finishes in a row. Let's see. I'm going to go with something a little crazy, and I'm going to take Liam Lawson, P4.
Wow.
And then Carlos Sainz's teammate, Alex Albon.
Oh, I was going to take Alex. All right, so your top 5, Max, Lando, George, Liam Lawson, and Alexander Albon. My top 5 for the U.S. Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, and Ollie Bierman.
Oh my goodness.
Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
Well, I don't think it's too crazy, but I'm going to say, just for the fun of it, that the final driver championship standings will be basically a reverse of the current top 3. So it'll be Max, Lando, Oscar.
Wow. See, I think it's going to be Oscar, Lando, Max. That'll be a good one, though. That would be epic.
So Lando does, figure out how to get past Oscar, but lo and behold, the inevitable Max still finishes ahead of him.
Nice. My crazy prediction is not so crazy. Toto Wolff has signed Kimi Antonelli for next year. He still has not signed George because George wants at least 2 years. I think Toto will acquiesce and give George his 2 years, but that still leaves an opening in 2027, and I think he will sign Max Verstappen. Max will, there's no reason to stay at Red Bull. The only reason to stay at Red Bull is he knows everybody, and his dad knows everybody, and those two are like, peas in a pod. But I think the money and the car is going to lure Max away. So that's my crazy prediction.
Interesting.
All right. I would thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved Father and Son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. And we are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
Good show. I have this rush where I start to lose my voice. And I was thinking about, I was watching the Ryder Cup, and they had these guys on these Whoop devices. And so just when they're setting up to do a putt, it's like, oh, the Whoop will show this is an athlete, a golfer, but nonetheless an athlete, the rise in blood pressure and then heart rate, that sort of thing. Wouldn't that be awesome? We had real-time data on the screen of all of the, the various, physical factors on these drivers. What's the heart rate? What's the respiratory rate? That sort of thing. What's their body temperature? In Singapore, that was a real deal. I'd be interested in that.
That would be interesting. And I think it would give a little bit more, I guess, confirmation to people that these dudes are elite athletes.
Just
their heart rate, I imagine, is probably basically at VO2 max the whole time. Right. 200 BPM.
Just something insane
for an hour and a half. That's insane. So,
and I saw something. Ocon was talking about one of his crash. It was a few years ago, and he said the following day he was in the shower and he passed out. It's like, dang.
Yeah, that's crazy. He said it was 42G or something like that. 42G is stupid.
Yeah. That's the fighter jet crashing straight into the ground. That's insane. You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.